So we have plenty of things for you. Do I need to do something, maybe? It may be. Oh, here we are. La 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 la. So this is Pykonik Tech Talks 85. Welcome. This is the last meeting before the holiday season, before we start going on a vacation. There will be some announcements before we go, before we end tonight. But anyway, as always, for summer we are having some break, so this is the last Tech Talks, but it's not the last Pykonik this summer. More details coming soon. First of all, if you haven't yet, probably you haven't because this is the first time today you see this slide, go please to pykonik.org/feedback, because this is the place where we gather feedback. And even if you have had filled it in last month or 2 months ago, do it again, because we are gathering the data. We see how it changes over time. We are adjusting lights as we go, and also sound. Okay. So this is the moment where you go to this feedback form. Okay. What's today for us? So now we are starting. In a few minutes on the stage, there will be Oleg with his presentation about AI agents and how to orchestrate them using Python. Oleg is ready. You ready? Yay! All right. Then after Oleg, we'll have Marysia on the stage, who will tell us some nice details about docstrings and the things that you probably would like to know about those docstrings, but you always were afraid to ask. This presentation will be in Polish, just so you know. The first one will be in English. And then we'll have lightning talks. And I know that we have already at least 2 of them. So who's got a lightning talk ready for today? Or maybe ready, not necessarily ready. You can get it ready in an hour. But who wants to present lightning talk today? 1. And this is not the one I expected, so this is the 3rd one, I guess. Okay, so anyway, we have at least 3 lightning talks. Possibly I will prepare the 4th one. So anyone wants to share something else, just raise your hands on when I call you out during the breaks. All right, now we'll go through the round of sponsors. Big thanks to ECHO Miasta and Tytano, our sponsor of this venue, because they are running this venue, and thanks to them, we are here. Big round of applause for them. Big thanks to EuroPython Society, the group that is sponsoring our pizza today, and first round of applause. And then I will tell you that, you know, it may sound like we are repeating ourselves, but EuroPython is coming in a few weeks, like less than a month at this point. And it is in Cracow, so, you know, if you don't know that yet, you may want to ask us around, because we all know about this. And this is one of the heatwave hot topics. Go on, Programista. You can grab 3 issues of Programista at the desk at the entrance, so feel free to grab them. Also the same with Paged Out. Also some issues waiting for you. This is very special because usually they are only in the PDF, and only for some events they are printed by their sponsors, especially for the events, and we have these prints. So yeah, this is great. Big round of applause for CLUG, they are doing the streaming and recording and all the stuff with my microphone and the lights. So yeah, thank you for that. JetBrains, as usual, we have them. And we have the competition, as always, on our Discord channel. If you are not on Discord, you will be in a few minutes. Go to Discord. There's a channel called Pykonik 85. this is the place where you should put something that you have learned recently, something you have discovered recently, or maybe you made recently. It can be literally anything that may interest people from our community. And the person that gets reactions from most people, that person will grab a license key for the software from JetBrains. So go there. Where? To discord.pykonik.org. This is the place where you can join our Discord server. And I guess some of you may still not be there, but I know most of you are. And this is the place where you can join the competition. Do that. Pizza will be at the end during the after party, but the amount of pizza is depending on how many of you sign up in the places where we send you to with our announcements. So always before the event, look at the announcements and look where you should sign up, because only then we'll have enough pizza for you. So if you don't grab a piece of pizza today, well, you can blame others who didn't sign up, right? Because you did, right? Okay, this is Pykonik Tech Talks 85. We are starting now with the first talk. Oleg, can I have you to the stage? We'll just switch the computers and we'll go with the first talk of the day. And by the way, I'm Ivelios, because usually I always forget to tell you who I am. Go on, come on to the stage. Meanwhile, you can grab something to drink on the bar. This is something I forgot. You can go to the bar at any point of time. I think we have presentations even on the TV screen at the bar, so you will miss nothing even if you will go to the bar during the presentation, but come back with something to drink and enjoy. You're ready. Okay, give us like a minute. Okay. So, as you can see, our first speaker has no computer, but he has a presentation. So, big round of applause for Oleg and his first presentation.
Yeah, hello everyone. So today I would like to talk about agents, agentic loops, and how to orchestrate those with Python. Because, well, we are on Pykonik, we are on the Python conference, we need to have something with Python. So this is probably something you see daily. It's maybe not very visible on that slide, but this is basically a to-do list, which you probably see in your cloud code or open code when you ask something to implement or to do from your agent. So it usually goes research some topic which you want to do, and it provides you a to-do list with different items that this agent will perform for you. So you're basically sitting, watching this, and enjoying agent doing the work. So for you, it's very important that all of these to-dos will be properly handled by the agent, and everything will be implemented correctly. So basically, today I will speak about how to make this, let's say, plan much more stable, reproducible, and produce better results overall. So for us engineers, this to-do plan is quite important but probably this is not the most important checklist in the world. One of the important checklists is the pre-flight checklist that pilots need to perform before taking off. And unfortunately, even though this checklist is very, very important, humans sometimes making mistakes or not handling this checklist correctly, like even humans. So, for example, from 1993, almost 300 incidents related to aircraft were somehow related to the mishandling of the checklists. Yeah. So, some examples of such incidents, maybe you will find something in common with how your AI agent perform. So, for example, in one of the situations, pilots omitted the taxi takeoff checklist, flaps remained retracted, and that leads to the incident. So CVR analysis suggests that crew never completed the required verification step. Another situation is where pilots start casual conversation. They were not focused on the checklist, and critical checklist items were skipped. That also leads to the incident. Third example, kind of the opposite. Pilots were focused too much on the checklist and were not able to properly monitor flight paths and handle their basically duties. The problem is actually not the checklist itself, because the checklist structure is very simple. It's a list of items that you need to verify. And this verify word is very important. And this is what I will talk mostly in this presentation, like how to properly verify that the AI agent actually doing what we expected from him. So not only humans making mistakes when following these checklists, AI does too, quite often. And our goal as engineers to improve this situation somehow. Yeah. This is 4 examples, in my opinion, kind of common examples when it might happen, when AI can like skip some items or mishandle something. For example, when you define your goal or like implementation that you expect from the AI agent to abstract. You say, for example, made it production ready. Well, what does mean production ready? It can be startup production ready, multi-tenancy, AI B2B SaaS startup ready, or whatever. And it's very hard for AI agent to understand the level of this production ready. Another thing is like it check the proxy. You have a service. Your AI agent implemented the request to the service. It checks for 200. But didn't check the payload from the service. In that payload, you can have sometimes status error, or payload can be empty. So in this case, agent checked the status, but didn't check what inside the payload from that server. Yeah, it grades its own work. This is the most common case for me, because I was implementing the system that requires the verification step, and especially small models, oftenly check themselves, like the code they've written, and skip the test phase or skip the verification phase completely. It's like you merging directly to master without pull request and without reviewing stuff. And the last one, also pretty common, the shortcuts is easier for an agent if agent seeing that something can be implemented like a boilerplate or placeholder. Sometimes it does. It was a paper about that. I will not go deeply into this topic, but the main idea was that the plan that was generated in the beginning kind of drifting during execution of the agent, because the context growing, because there are many signals, and priorities in the plan kind of mixing with what agent currently doing. Even though, for example, Cloud Code or Open Code trying to like reinforce that plan all the time. In aviation, they tried to fix the problem that caused humans to skip some checklist items, and they tried to improve that situation. So one of the improvement was to have two pilots, one asking what is the flap state, another replying flaps are like 15, for example. In this case, the second pilot replying not just yes or no, it's replying what is exact state by looking to the indicators, and like the second pilot confirming that. This is a very big improvement because you cannot end up saying like yes or no. You need to actually look to indicator to reply with 15, unless you like trying to mislead the second pilot like specifically. That kind of approach was implemented in CLUG code recently. They call it goal, so you can specify the goal, like what you're trying to achieve, to kind of guide the agent to actually implement what you're trying to do. This technique was completely not new. Like before, people were making verifiers by implementing the skills, running the skills in sub-agents, and this is like not a new approach. Yeah, but CLUG code did a special command for that called goal, and the idea that the verifier running in a special separate model, and usually it's a haiku, by default it's a haiku model that checks the current state, verifies that it's according to what we expecting from the AI agent, and replying yes or no. Like it's still yes or no, but it's already like two models trying to work together on the common task. But there is always but. When you define a goal and your plan has multiple items, this goal can drift or like the verifier become kind of flaky. For example, if you have a plan that says let's implement feature A, let's run tests, and then make sure CI is green. If you say the goal is to handle all of that, then the question is what is more important? What makes more priority if another fails? That's why you can see on the left, on the right, CLUG said that, okay, we need to specify only one measurable end state. It's like clearly defined in their official documentation that if you define a goal, define one measurable end state, so the verifier, this small model, can easily understand if a goal is met or not. But sometimes it's really hard because we have multiple steps in our checklist, in our plan. How we solve this situation? So we can solve this by running each item in our plan as a sub-agent. And for each sub-agent, we have a verifier or a goal defined. So it's much easier because the scope is much smaller. So for example, comparing to the previous approach, we have multiple sub-agents that implement feature A, implement test, commit, CI green, and everything is working like separately in sub-agents. But what happens if tests are failing, if test sub-agent fail? Well, if tests are failing, we need to fix them, and we cannot proceed in the same sub-agent, in test sub-agent, because while we fix and test, the implementation may change. We need to run linters, we need to check the product specification again, but like we cannot do this in the same sub-agent. So we basically need to return back to the first state and also provide the feedback to the first state why tests are failing. This is similar to another improvement that was made in aviation. So this improvement says that if during the checklist you got interrupted by any reason, start the checklist from scratch, from the first item. Why? Because if you get interrupted, you can start from the wrong place, or you can change the state of the system in the way that previous item that you already checked are already kind of invalid. So this rule says that if you got interrupted, start from scratch. And this rule can be also very well applied to our AI agent system like architecture. So if tests fail, we back to the feature A and running this in the loop. So basically, we end up in the agentic loop situation that's become quite popular in Twitter. Everyone kind of talking about that. And the idea is there are multiple forms. In this case, you can see like outer loop defined. Basically, you have orchestration agent that controls how this loop needs to be run and running these sub-agents. There are multiple questions, like how to properly do this. For example, how we exit from this loop, how we carry context, because if tests are failed, we need to provide the context why this test failing back to the implementation, and how to properly repeat all those steps. So if we summarized like previous slides, we had a plan. Maybe we defined goal, maybe not. But this plan kind of flaky. It's hard to verify properly. So that's why we're running all the steps in separate sub-agents. And if one of the steps failing, we need to start over. So we are making our loop. Yeah. So you may ask, like, almost like 10 minutes, I'm talking about loops, agents on the Python conference, like why? So here we are in Python. Basically, you can define this loop inside the Python code. You were able to do that for a very long time. You can basically use length chain tools. You can use Pydantic AI to define different agents, run this. It will run pretty good. And yeah, you already had the ability to define this loop. And defining this loop is not very complex because you can set up a sub-agent, some definition, and then you define how these sub-agents related to each other and how to provide the output from one sub-agent to another. And you're running this, for example, in while loop with some circle breaker that you have some maximum number of steps to repeat. So I will not talk about how to implement these loops in LangChain or Pydantic because this is kind of boring. But what not boring is to tell the model to generate this plan. So instead of developing and writing this plan by ourselves, we can ask model to generate this code plan or plan as a code that will orchestrate how sub-agents are working. So for example, we can define like our model that produces a plan that's basically a Python code. And if you think like you have this agentic loop, you need a condition that is basically means verifier. You need a loop. Python has the ability to define loops. You need to define sub-agent and you need to run that agent. So instead of simple checklist item with like very basic structure, you have much more complex one. You have multiple relationships. You need to pass properly feedback, and things kind of getting complicated. So I will show you how you can run this and how you can do things like that. In my case, I defined a skill, and I defined two agents, basically sub-agents. One, writing this plan as a code, as a Python code, and another defining sub-agents that are missing. So we defined our agents which we want to use to achieve the goal. We defined the relationship between these sub-agents, and then we defined the MD file for each sub-agent that we want to use. And then we have scripts folder that's basically two scripts, get next extraction and emulator. And the idea is following. Your CLUG code or open code always run get next extraction. It runs get next extraction and it gets a next thing to do. So in next command that it must execute. And the only things that CLUG or open code do, it only run the script getNext extraction. The getNext extraction then asks emulator what the state of the plan is and what the next command that we need to execute. It also like generate a temporary folder where we put our plan as a code, the Python code, then where we keep our runtime log, basically results from the sub agents and other information like sub agents that we generated. Yeah. So let's go a little bit deeply into that. So OpenCode, for example, asks getNext interaction about next step. And as a first step, it says, make a plan that looks like a Python code, like for the future, right? Then CLUG code runs it again, and getNext extraction says, now generate sub-agent that we need to perform that work. And on the third step, it gets a real like execution command, like execute this sub-agent to do this and provide output that we can store in our runtime log. The emulator looks like that. So basically we have a thread that running this pre-generated code plan. And when we end up in a situation when we need to call sub-agent, we return execution back to the main thread. This main thread checks the runtime log if it's already was executed or not. If it's yes, then it returns this result back to the emulator, and emulator continues the work until we end up in a situation where we need to execute sub-agents. In this case, getNext instruction replies to CLUG code or OpenCode to run actual sub-agent. And on the side, you can see that we can define this sub-agent, what it needs to what it needs to do, and what the output is basically in Python code, and it collects all sub-agent that it needs for implementation of anything. In the code, it looks like that. So, for example, on that side, we have plan that generated by agent, like plan as the code. We have agent run, and then this method. This is how this method looks in the emulator. So basically, we create event in threads. We provide some payload to the queue. The main thread block waiting data from that queue, and when we found the log in runtime log, or when we got reply from CLUG code, we putting the information back and releasing this event wait, so the emulator can continue. And this is example how runtime log looks like. So basically, it's a type of the message, and the payload, the output of the sub-agent that we executed. So, small summary of the previous slides. Our CLUG code running next instruction, generating the plan that basically a Python code, then generating missing sub-agents. On each turn, it reconstructs the emulator state from the runtime log, and then it decides about the next step and asking our coding tool to perform that next step. Now, how it looks like in action. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can maximize this, but yeah, this is basically a screenshot from OpenCode. I'm asking OpenCode to implement Fast API app, and the first thing it's doing calling getNext instruction, and this initiates the session. Basically, it gives loop ID. Then it provides the working directory path, and then it asking to generate this plan as a code in Python. So this is exactly the instruction that asking to generate this plan. So it starts a task, basically a sub-agent, that basically generating this plan. And plan looks like that. So in Python, it defines different sub-agents. In this case, it's like multiple classes. and it's saying like, okay, first research what fast API app we need to implement, make structure, add endpoints, and set up error handling. There are some more. And then it defines the relationship between this sub-agent in the code. So it runs research, create structure, add endpoints, set up error handling, add documentation, and then what interesting, it end up in the loop. So it verifies if everything done correctly. If not, it tries to add endpoint, error handling, and documentation, and again in the loop. What's interesting, it do not repeat this first step like research. We don't need to do research again if we failed. It mainly drives the implementation and execution. Yeah, so next step, the stage 4, is basically to generate that missing sub-agent. If you already have sub-agent for testing or implementation, it will use what you already have. If you're missing some, it will automatically generate them. And on stage 5, it's asking to actually run the sub-agent that actually will implement the fast API. In this case, it's first like running research, fast API, and other stuff. And you can see it provides, on the next execution of get next instruction, it provides the output of that sub-agent to the next stage. And basically, the code, the plan decides about next step based the output from that sub-agent. And it goes through this plan, and in the end, it replied that there are no errors. You can see this as a parameter true none. 1 second, I can try. Oh, yeah. Here, true none, and it says that execution finished and goal is achieved, and some summarization of things. Where else it can be useful? You can make infinite loops. For example, if you do fuzzing, like fast testing, or you make some research, you want to run this in infinite loop, you can ask Cloud Code to define this loop in the Python. And for example, I asked to generate a test dataset using this skill, and it generated sub-agents, and then make what Haiku thought infinite loop, which is basically million iteration. And yeah, it checks what data was already generated before, it generates a new one, and prepares the next step in this cycle, and basically it's spinning million times until like probably your disk will be full. Yeah. You can have even more control because you're using like Python, like a real language. You can have even more control over how you execute sub-agent. For example, on one of the Twitch stream, Primogen was saying that he is developing like harness that deploys code to as a pull request, and he commenting this code inside the GitHub, and then agent fetches his comment and trying to like iterate on these comments. So what I did is basically put his wordings more or less to the open code. I said, okay, using this skill, implement fast API app, send pull request for review, wait for feedback, periodically, like once per 3 minutes, fetch pull request comments. If there are some to-dos, fix them. If PR accepted, merge this PR. This is the only input I provided to OpenCode, basically this skill and this input. And agent generated multiple sub-agents to run to achieve that. Agent that implements fast API, create pull request, fetches the PR comments, fixes to-dos and pull request, and made this kind of plan, like connected these sub-agents together by like first implementing the fast API application, then creating the pull request, then entering the loop that fetches pull request comments. If there are some, it tries to fix them in here, and if there are no comments, it actually uses Python time model. So it imports the time model and sleeps for 3 minutes. So when you run this in OpenCode, OpenCode will basically hang out for 3 minutes, like you defined in your prompt, waiting for comments in the GitHub. And when you put these comments, this cycle will repeat. and it will try to fix this to-do that you defined. So, and all of that, all this plan as a code was generated from one prompt from me. It was not written by me. Yeah. All right, let's go next. You can also write this plan by yourself. You can run this getNext instruction once. It will generate this temporary directory. You can define this sub agents and like how you want to connect them, and you can go back to your session in OpenCode and say, okay, now continue executing that, and it will look to the plan that you already defined, and it will start like generating sub-agent and iterating your plan. So you can basically program things that you want to achieve. Like instead of having this checklist with items, you program what you want from OpenCode, what agent to run and how to connect them, basically. You can also take this plan and put it inside your own skill. You can, for example, you executed this once, you find that it's very useful or it worked very, very well. You take this plan, you put this to your own skill, and then you can run this multiple times and it will produce more or less same results. Yeah, so this is also a very big achievement of this approach, because it gives you some sort of reproducibility, because it's not a model who decides how to orchestrate sub-agents. It's basically running a Python code, and more or less steps that are running will be the same in all of the coding tools and different sessions. If power turned off, you can always run from the last step because you have a runtime log. It will recreate the emulator from the last state, and it will guide OpenCode like with the next instructions and next steps. I put all of this as a GitHub, open source GitHub repository. You can check how it's implemented inside. There are also a bunch of additional information with examples and different schemas, how it's working. This is still like experimental project, but I'm like iterating and trying to make it stable and kind of production ready. Another thing that is important to talk about is that in all these examples before, we were generating a pure Python. So LLM model, we're generating the Python code that then we run in the separate thread. But running Python code is not very safe. Well, it's not safe at all. It should be treated as an untrusted code, because model can write the Python code in the way that, for example, access your file system or network. So to reduce or like to eliminate this problem, there is another type of driver available in this skill based on the Pydantic Monty. So Pydantic Monty, for those who don't know, it's an emulator of Python written in Rust in the way that you can emulate Python much more safely. It's like cutting off some dangerous statements and instructions. So basically, model writes this code, this plan as a code, and we put in this code inside the Monty, and we iterate on that. So we have a bit more, like additional layer of security on top of that, what LLM gives us, the Python code. The only thing to mention is that the Pydantic Monty project is a work in progress itself, and it's quite big. It's basically trying to emulate a lot of standard libraries, Python standard libraries, even have some mounts and other stuff. So it may contain some security issues in itself, and well, it's still work in progress. So there is also a third version, assembly-like driver. This is based on the last assembly that I was giving a talk before, so you can check more details about that in my previous talk. But the idea is simple. Instead of the Python, we ask LLM to generate assembly code with basically 6 instructions. It's like simpy, jump, labels, and these macros. The macro defines the sub-agents. It says what some description and what the output should be. And then LLM writing the assembly code using basically these 6 instructions. And those 6 instructions are enough to make a control flow that connects sub-agents together. And based on my testing on the small models, sometimes the assembly-like approach were better than the Python one because model was limited and didn't produce some weird stuff like trying to implement something by its own. Yeah, so that's it. If you're interested, check this out. Feedback very appreciated, and especially if you can test this somewhere, because right now I'm developing some projects and I'm testing on my workflows, but a variety of these workflows will help to improve the plans and the skills in this project. So yeah, if you have a chance, try this out. Yep.
Thank you. Round of applause. Okay, questions time. Who's got a question? Okay, first here.
So do I understand correct? So because like you have this code that is generated and there's like this is result okay or is result true or something like that.
Not only.
I mean, yeah, but there's some condition that is generated from the code, but cannot the sub-agent just generate this JSON with this status okay or something and be like, oh, I did the job and I'm not doing anything?
Yeah, so I try to reduce this, basically trying to say that the output that you can see here, for example, it's run the test suite and report result, right? So it says that tests are passed, true or false, but also give you a failure summary if something failed, right? So it needs to actually put some information there. In theory, it can just end up with information, but it increases the chance that the report will be correct. But the main idea is that you need to reduce the scope as much as you can. So if you run tests, well, you creating a verifier that makes sure that tests will succeed, and it's very easy to verify because, well, if PyTest raises the error, it will be non-zero status, and yeah.
And do you also, so if you had like this code that was doing the sub-agents run stuff and like getting this result and so on, shouldn't you pass some of this result object to the other sub-agents? Like maybe they need sometimes the context of it, or is it?
Yes.
Or is it like fetched automatically from this directory where all the runtime log is put into?
Yeah, so the idea is fun. Let me just show a Python example because maybe assembly can be complicated for okay, no, it's not. I will want, yeah, here for example, right? So you can see each sub-agent have output specification, like what needs to be returned as an output from that sub-agent, and this saved to the runtime log. And also, the next skill says what it needs from the previous one. So the CLUG code, when it's running, it has this context, and it provides this context when it runs the next sub-agent. Basically, open code, in case of open code, it runs general task. It knows that this sub-agent needs this information because it defined this sub-agent generated by the model itself. And we have output specification from the previous one. So this output specification goes to the next one based on the rules that are defined here. Yeah.
How do you, in open code, make sure that the Python is executed first? How do you implement that skill? Is it a system prompt or something more complex?
Yeah, it's basically a skill that, so we basically define here. It says that for anything you do, always run get next extraction. And there are multiple statements like that. So it said if you get error, run get next extraction. If you like want to stop, run get next extraction. So we always secure this step that Cloud code or open code will go and run get next extraction. And for small models, sometimes it's very hard. They tend to fix or iterate on the problem by themselves. So yeah, I'm still kind of improving these skills to make sure that it always get next instruction, and then they follow the output of that script, not trying to do something by themselves. Yeah.
All right. One more question.
Thank you. Did I catch it correctly? You mentioned that you were using Haiku with when you were running this.
Yeah, all examples here basically using Haiku. Yes.
And why Haiku? Did you try some different model like Opus and you decided that Haiku is good enough, or what's the reason behind it?
Yeah, so I wanted to show that Haiku is enough to solve this. So if it's possible on Haiku, it's possible on other models, and indeed, like on much more smarter models, it's easier to handle this. They much better follow instruction in the skill and sub agents and so on. I also running like locally on Qwen and other very, very small models. And basically my goal like for next version of this skill is to make sure that it behaves correctly on a very, very small model. Like for now, I'm trying to make it work for Qwen 35B with very small quantization like 4. Yeah, it works on the small Qwen model pretty well, but sometimes again it trying to solve problems by himself instead of running sub agents, like I said in the skill. So I think that it can be tuned in the skill itself. Yeah, and basically I'm still working on that. Yeah.
All right. One more question. This is the last one.
Okay, so the question is because, as I understand this is mostly a sequential process. So first of all, can there be optional tasks that the model can decide to skip? And secondly, can something be parallelized?
Yeah, so basically option task, one second. Option task can be skipped in here. So for example, if previous sub-agent returns something that leads next sub-agent to skip the step or not to run, then it should be defined as a code in here. So basically, when you run for the first time, in your plan, there will be an if statement. If output this, then skip and go do this. This is actually a very good example with this GitHub. Yeah. You can see that it checks if there are comments. If there are none, it skips this step and goes in sleeping mode. This is exactly like option sub-agent. So all these kind of relationships and how the sub-agent should be executed, it's all defined in this code. Yeah.
Okay. So once again, big round of applause. Thank you very much for the talk. Now, we'll switch the speakers on the stage. I can take this. Marysia is coming to the stage. Yeah, it's fine. It's all fine. Come on. Wires. Najlepiej stay stuck. Okay, this talk will be in Polish, but first, very funny joke from me. Anyway, so Marysia will tell us a little bit about docstrings. Do you use docstrings? Who's using docstrings? Yeah. I tried many times to read them, and they were very hard to read. But then I understood they are docstrings. When you go to the doctor and you get this prescription, it's really hard to read. Very hard to read the docstring. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Ho, ho, ho. So this will be about the medical doctors. Yes. Yes.
So I have a few more questions. First of all, hello everyone. Ja nie mówię po polsku, ja mówię po polsku. Dobra.
Right. So the stage is, the scena jest twoja.
Cześć, nazywam się Marysia Lowas-Rzechonek. Też mam kilka pytań do was. Kto z was wierzy w self-documenting code? Są tam, tak. A komu z was zdarzyło się nie pisać docstringów, właśnie tłumacząc się, że przecież ten kod dokumentuje się sam? Tak, no nie jest tak źle. A komu się zdarzyło wkurzać na to, że ktoś powinien napisać dokumentację, ale tego nie zrobił? No widzicie. Także mam nadzieję, że po mojej prezentacji tutaj może zmieni się trochę wasze podejście do docstringów. No zobaczymy. To teraz kilka słów o mnie, takich związanych powiedzmy z moim podejściem do docstringów. Po pierwsze jestem dyslektyczkiem i zawsze pisanie było dla mnie ciężkie. Miałam tak zwane ciężkie pióro i musiałam się uczyć tych wszystkich zasad, bo nie wchodziła mi do głowy ortografia ani interpunkcja i tak dalej. Więc zawsze to było trudne. Później studiowałam filozofię i tutaj znowu okazało się, że czytanie jest całkiem trudne, ponieważ teksty, które musieliśmy czytać, wymagały kilkukrotnych naprawdę czytania, zastanawiania się nad tym, ale też uczyliśmy się tego, że czasami pod takim skomplikowanym tekstem jest faktycznie coś wartego do przekazania, a czasami po prostu to jest tylko taki skomplikowany zbiór pojęć, a niespecjalnie za tym kryje się coś więcej. Kilka lat później pracowałam jako tech writer i tutaj zdobyłam jeszcze inną perspektywę, ponieważ z jednej strony tak, dokumentacji nie czyta się dla dokumentacji, dokumentację wszyscy trochę tak olewają, natomiast jak już ktoś czyta dokumentację, to oczekuje, że będzie ona prosta, w sensie w odbiorze, że będzie łatwo jakby pozyskać te informacje, które się chce. Także tutaj tak bym podsumowała to, że czytanie ma być łatwe, ale i tak ci nikt nie podziękuje, jak zrobisz to dobrze. No i później minęło parę lat i zostałam programistką i tutaj moja perspektywa właśnie podzieliła się na takie dwie części, że z jednej strony kiedy potrzebuję czegoś się dowiedzieć i nie ma tej dokumentacji, to trochę się złoszczę, że ktoś się nie postarał, ale z drugiej strony jeśli samemu coś robię, no to prawda jest... Zawsze są ważniejsze rzeczy do zrobienia, skończyć tą implementację, sprawdzić, żeby testy przeszły i coś tam i wtedy te docstringi stają się takim przykrym obowiązkiem i nie zawsze się chce to robić. Też muszę powiedzieć, że widziałam bardzo źle napisane docstringi, które najchętniej po prostu od razu wyrzuciłabym do kosza, ponieważ absolutnie nic nie przynosiły. Tak. Więc o czym będę mówiła dzisiaj? No to tam zacznę od tego, czym są docstringi, jaka jest ich funkcja, o czym pisać, a o czym nie pisać, jaką strukturę powinien mieć docstring, jakie są takie najczęstsze formaty takiego docstringa. Kilka słów powiem o języku, w jakim powinno się to robić, a na końcu też powiem no już tak mało o narzędziach, które mogą nam w tym pomóc. No to zaczynamy. Na początku chciałam tutaj zamieścić kawałek z PEP 257, to jest PEP właśnie poświęcony docstringom. Jest też trochę o docstringach w PEPie 8, ale głównie tutaj, co jest ciekawego, to jest właśnie w tym 257. A docstring is a string literal that occurs as the first statement in the module, function class, or method definition, such a docstring becomes the dunderdoc special attribute of that object. Więc tutaj kilka takich podstawowych informacji. Docstring to jest ten właśnie string, który musi znaleźć się zaraz po, tam właśnie na górze pliku albo zaraz po sygnaturze funkcji i tak dalej, i tak dalej. I tego rodzaju właśnie stringi lądują w atrybucie dunderdoc i są dostępne w czasie runtime'u. Czasami zdarza się tutaj, drugi paragraf o tym mówi, dokumentować kod też w innych miejscach, natomiast to do runtime'u już nie trafi. I teraz, żeby pokazać, o co chodzi, to jest jakiś tam przykład jakiegoś endpointu. Akurat ten docstring jest napisany w stylu Google, ale o tym będę później mówiła. I zobaczymy, co się z tym dzieje w runtime. Oczywiście możemy zrobić po prostu wywołać ten atrybut, no i wtedy dostajemy taki niesformatowany string, który wygląda jak wygląda. Natomiast jak już zawołamy na nim print, to da się coś z tego wynieść. Podobnie mamy też funkcję help, którą możemy zawołać po prostu na funkcji, natomiast ja ją tutaj zawołałam na module i dostajemy taką krótką dokumentację całego modułu. I tak naprawdę funkcja help używa pod spodem czegoś, co się nazywa PyDoc. To jest moduł Pythona, który używa właśnie tego dunderdoc do wygenerowania takiego outputu. Różne są outputy, może to być właśnie w konsoli, może być to w pliku HTML, albo można nawet sobie to zaserwować na przeglądarce i to jest właśnie to, jak to wygląda w przeglądarce. Przy okazji też właściwie robi dokumentację wszystkiego, co mamy zaimportowanego w danej chwili, więc tego może być dużo. Kolory są jakie są, wygląda dosyć specyficznie, ale można to zrobić. Trzeba wtedy zrobić ten PyDoc z opcją -b i coś takiego dostajemy. Ponieważ to był endpoint Fast API, to też mamy już gotowe, prawda, dokumentację na przykład w formie Swaggera. To jest zrobione w inny sposób, natomiast sam docstring ląduje tutaj. Widzimy w opisie, nie jest on sformatowany, ale jest. I teraz na ostatek chciałam wam pokazać coś takiego, co się nazywa attribute docstrings, czyli to są takie opisy, które znajdują się tuż pod atrybutami klasy i one nie lądują już do dunderdoc, tylko zostają powiedzmy w kodzie. Niektóre generatory dokumentacji je używają. Tutaj jest akurat kawałek wygenerowany przez Sphinxa, więc od razu skorzystał z tego, że te informacje się tam znalazły. No i to taka jest funkcja. Tutaj no, część już powiedziałam, znaczy można było wyczytać z tego, co pokazywałam. W każdym razie jest to dokumentacja użycia kodu dostępna w runtime. Tutaj podkreślam to użycia kodu i później o tym jeszcze więcej powiem. Można za jej pomocą wygenerować jakąś formę dokumentacji. Są różne opcje, więc różnie można je skonfigurować, więc tutaj faktycznie można z tego korzystać. IDE też używają docstringów, szczególnie tej pierwszej linijki. Często na przykład do jakiegoś indeksowania, do wyświetlenia jakiegoś tooltipu. No również LLM-y z niej korzystają. Tutaj trzeba tylko uważać, że zdarzyło mi się, że po prostu agent przeczytał sobie kod i jego docstring, ale nie przeczytał już dokumentacji, a akurat był rozjazd między tymi dwoma rzeczami, no i zwrócił mi tak, jak było w docstringu, a nie jak w implementacji. Co oczywiście rodzi zarzut, że docstringi trzeba update'ować, no ale to za chwilę o tym. Może też służyć jako pewien symptom złego kodu, ponieważ jeśli nam ten docstring w jakiś sposób nie wychodzi, w jakiś sposób jest dziwny i taki trudny do ujęcia, to być może dlatego, że ta nasza funkcja, metoda czy klasa no nie jest dobrze zaprojektowana, tylko z tą właśnie odpowiedzialnością jest coś namieszane i trudno to ująć dobrze w słowa, więc możemy też sobie coś takiego skorzystać z tego. Tak, dobra. To, czego dokumentować, a czego nie. Więc przede wszystkim nie wszystko trzeba dokumentować. Nie wiem, czy może ktoś z was ma taki jakiś, albo spotkał się z takim jakimś imperatywem, żeby dokumentować każdą funkcję, każdą metodę. To jest zupełnie bez sensu i szkodliwe to jest, powiedziałabym. Nie ma w tym żadnej wartości dodanej, że mamy dużo docstringów w kodzie, jeśli one są bezużyteczne. Więc kiedy warto je robić? PEP 257 mówi, żeby dawać docstringi do modułów oraz klas i funkcji eksportowanych przez ten moduł. To jest nasze szczególne zastosowanie przy różnego rodzaju bibliotekach, ale też możemy pomyśleć o naszym kodzie w ten sposób. Google ma taki style guide dla Pythona i on tam mówi, że sugeruje, żeby były udokumentowane wszystkie całe publiczne API, funkcje z nietrywialną logiką albo bardzo długie. I tu jeszcze kilka uwag. Właśnie to, co powiedziałam, nadmieniłam. Docstringi dokumentują użycie kodu, a nie jego implementację. W docstringach nie powinna się znaleźć implementacja, chyba że jakieś skutki uboczne, które ona pociąga, są ważne z punktu widzenia użycia danej funkcji. Tak naprawdę w dokumentacji, znaczy w tych docstringach powinno się znaleźć tylko i wyłącznie, jak użyć tej funkcji. Natomiast do jakieś tam dokumentowania implementacji są komentarze. I tu jest tak jakby podkreślenie jeszcze raz, że dobry docstring powinien zawierać komplet informacji potrzebnych do użycia funkcji bez czytania kodu. Ponieważ pamiętajmy, że część osób będzie korzystało z naszych funkcji, czy tam metod i niekoniecznie chce czytać ten nasz kod, który może być jaki bądź, albo na przykład właśnie używać go w konsoli czy coś. Także myślimy o tym i staramy się pisać to, co potrzeba. Docstring też powinien rozszerzać sygnaturę funkcji, ale i nie powielać. To się chyba często zdarza właśnie, że na przykład mamy tam funkcję get user ID i mówimy, że get user ID. No to tylko bez tych podkreślników. No to jakby to coś takiego nie ma sensu i nie powinno się tego robić, bo to naprawdę nic nie wnosi. Teraz też to jest moja prywatna opinia, że właśnie lepiej jakby zainwestować w dobrą sygnaturę funkcji z typowaniem, żeby ta funkcja dobrze się nazywała i miała poprawne typowanie. I to lepiej robić niż pisać docstringa. No ale czasem i tak to nie wystarczy. Też nie należy się powtarzać, jeśli lepiej na przykład zrobić pełną dokumentację modułu, a później już w klasach, w funkcjach jakąś taką krótszą dokumentację i na przykład odnośniki do tego miejsca, w którym ta dokumentacja jest pewniejsza, żeby po prostu nie powtarzać ciągle tego samego, to jest męczące, tego się nie da czytać. I też, co widziałam, nie musimy dokumentować frameworka. Ja akurat głównie programuję w Django i widziałam tak, że ktoś właśnie dokumentuje tam funkcję save czy coś takiego. Nie, no to jest bez sensu, prawda? Tak samo jak nie musimy pisać, że metoda init inicjalizuje obiekt. To jakby jest nie nasza rola, żeby to robić, natomiast powinniśmy udokumentować to, czy na przykład rozszerzamy tą metodę, czy ją nadpisujemy, albo jakie dodatkowe side effecty tam żeśmy zamieścili. No, czyli wszystkie jakieś takie nieprzewidywalne, powiedzmy, konsekwencje, które się tam pojawiają, tam dzieją. No i tak, i teraz chciałam właśnie powiedzieć o strukturze tych docstringów. No sam PEP, sam Python nie narzuca jakiejś konkretnej struktury tak naprawdę, poza paroma uwagami. Zostawia to do wyboru, aczkolwiek ma jakieś rekomendacje. Jednym z takich zasad jakby podstawowych jest to, że podstawowy docstring to jest taki one-liner, który powinien być... Teraz mam tutaj gdzieś coś tu napisane, to od razu tu wyświetlę wszystko. powinny być zdaniem w typie rozkazującym, czyli zrób coś, a nie oznajmującym, albo też jakimś równoważnikiem zdania. To tylko czasami trudno jest zastosować do klas i properties. No to powiedzmy, że można przyjąć tutaj taki jakiś wyjątek, że w tym wypadku, ponieważ to nie ma sensu, lepiej nie tworzyć jakiegoś takiego sztucznego tworu na siłę, to zdanie jakby tworzyć, tylko po prostu użyć jakiegoś rzeczownika i jest OK. Określa działanie funkcji w tym, co funkcja zwraca. To się bierze z tym, że tak w klasycznej, powiedzmy, formie po samej introspekcji funkcji my jakby nie jesteśmy w stanie powiedzieć, co nas zwraca, natomiast to było napisane przed type hintami. Jak są type hinty, to już wiemy, więc wtedy powiedzmy nie jesteśmy, jeśli ich używamy, nie jesteśmy tak tutaj zobowiązani do tego, żeby też określić to, czym ona zwraca, bo to już, prawda, jest zamieszczone. Docstring się zaczyna i kończy potrójnymi cudzysłowiami i jeśli w przypadku tego one-linera one powinny się zmieścić na tej samej linii, no i powinno to zdanie być zakończone kropką, jak porządne zdanie. Tutaj coś jeszcze chciałam dodać. Aha, że dobrze, jeśli ono nie jest za długie. Tutaj jakby trochę już widać, o co chodzi. Ponieważ często właśnie szczególnie ta pierwsza linia docstringu będzie wyświetlana w takich różnych kontekstach, gdzie te okienka w jakichś tooltipach czy w czymś takim, to warto, żeby to było zwięzłe zdanie. Drugą taką odmianą docstringu jest docstring, który zawiera wiele linii. I tak naprawdę pierwsza linia to jest taki summary line i to jest po prostu taki one-liner. Po tym one-linerze musi nastąpić linijka przerwy i to jest ważne, dlatego że faktycznie różnego rodzaju narzędzia, które parsują te docstringi, na to zwracają uwagę, więc to jest faktycznie istotne. A później następuje rozwinięcie tego, co tam, więcej informacji na ten temat. To, co zamieszczamy więcej informacji na ten temat, no to właśnie zależy od tego, co uważamy, że potrzeba wiedzieć, żeby dobrze użyć tej funkcji. I teraz wcięcia równamy do tego pierwszego znaku otwierającego docstring, a zamykające znaki dajemy jakby w osobnej linii. Jeśli byśmy mieli dokumentację klasy, to wtedy należy po dokumentacji zostawić linijkę przerwy, tak żeby zachować tą linijkę przerwy między metodami funkcji. Dobra. Mamy i teraz, jak mamy te właśnie w multiliner, mamy te dodatkowe informacje, to miejsce na dodatkowe informacje, to możemy to przedstawić w różny sposób. Ale jest takich kilka najbardziej popularnych jakby formatów, które do tego używamy. No oczywiście jest plain text, czyli jakby w pełni dowolna forma. Jest restructured text, Google style, NumPyDoc i doctest. No i tak jak mówiłam, właśnie plain text to właściwie możemy zrobić tam wszystko, ponieważ nic nie jest określone, żaden format nie jest narzucony. I też, ale jest on najbardziej podstawowy i on zawsze będzie dobry. I tak samo też w PEP-ie jest napisane, że on zawsze będzie wspierany, bo przez to, że właśnie po prostu jest, niczego się nie trzeba uczyć, niczego nie trzeba do tego dorabiać. Tu akurat nie jest, powiedzmy, jest napisane, właśnie jest wyprintowany docstring. Natomiast jakby widać, że to jest taki wyprint właśnie z plain tekstu jest wyprintowany, więc po prostu tam nie ma nic określonego. Drugim takim formatem jest restructured text. I to jest też format, który został, jakby jest rekomendowany przez PEP. Tu jest w PEP-ie 2.8.7 jest właśnie ten restructured text jako rekomendowany format dla docstringów. Został on wybrany dlatego, że właśnie jest easy to read, easy to use, że prawda, czyta się go, kod tego formatu czyta się bardzo dobrze, nie trzeba też za dużo się uczyć składni i tak dalej, i tak dalej. Natomiast też jest to właśnie preferowany format przez Sphinxa, który jest jednym z najbardziej popularnych tych narzędzi do generowania dokumentacji. Więc niby wszystko fajnie i faktycznie ten restructured text dobrze wygląda przy dłuższych, właśnie można też w nim pisać dłuższe dokumentacje, czyli na przykład możemy mieć dłuższą dokumentację i później wzbogacić ją naszymi docstringami, prawda? I to wtedy wszystko będzie spójne i w tym samym stylu napisane. Natomiast jakby prawda jest taka, że często gęsto te docstringi wyglądają w ten sposób, więc są z tymi znacznikami param type, return i tak dalej, które są właśnie takie zdefiniowane przez Sphinxa. No i to nie jest już takie ładne. Przynajmniej w mojej właśnie, to dosyć zaburza. No nie można powiedzieć, że jest to czytelne. Jest też Google Style i ja go w sumie lubię, szczególnie dla projektów, które nie generują dokumentacji z siebie, ponieważ on jest bardzo prosty. Ma kilka sekcji, tam args, returns, rises, może mieć też yield albo example, a oprócz tego to jest plain text. Także no właśnie, prosty, przejrzysty, minimum struktury, już naprawdę niczego nie trzeba się uczyć. A jeśli nawet potrzebujemy wygenerować dokumentację z niego, to jest rozszerzenie Napoleon do Sphinxa, więc jakby też się da. Ponieważ jest to jakiś format, jest określony, można tutaj coś działać. Jest też NumPyDoc, właśnie on jest używany przez NumPy'a i SciPy'a. Jest on oparty o restructured text, ale ma swoje znaczniki. Trochę wygląda jak połączenie restructured text i Google, ponieważ jednak te sekcje są bardziej przejrzyste, trzeba powiedzieć, niż w takim czystym restructured text. On jest dobry dla takiej dokumentacji do projektów, w których faktycznie te docstringi są rozbudowane i tam trzeba dużo powiedzieć, bo inaczej nie da się, po prostu trzeba. Nie? No i wtedy tutaj mamy taki format, możemy go sobie użyć i jest OK. Chciałam też powiedzieć o docteście, który jest modułem Pythona. On działa tak, że szuka fragmentów tekstu, który właśnie ma te znaczniki jak w konsoli Pythona, no i on je wykonuje i przy okazji sprawdza, czy wynik jest dobry. Także można tego używać w regresji, można właśnie za jego pomocą sprawdzić, czy nasz docstring jest dalej aktualny, czy tam się nic nie podziało. A przy okazji może też pełnić rolę jakiegoś tutorialu naszego kodu. Jak pisać? Przede wszystkim pewnie w większości piszemy w języku angielskim. Nie jest to jakiś wymóg, wiadomo, absolutny, natomiast zazwyczaj ma to sens w języku angielskim. No i przede wszystkim ten język musi być poprawny. Gramatycznie, stylistycznie, ortograficznie, po prostu dlatego, że taki język łatwiej czytać. I też dlatego, że wtedy nasze błędy nie rozpraszają uwagi czytającego. A o to właśnie nam chodzi. Pełne zdania staramy się pisać, czyli ten one-liner powinien być w trybie rozkazującym, natomiast kolejne to już powinny być normalne zdania i takie preferujemy. Trzeba się stać, aczkolwiek wiadomo, że czasami są listy różnego typu, więc jakby nie ma to sensu. Natomiast takie pełne zdania są łatwiejsze w czytaniu, łatwiejsze w zrozumieniu i też bywają bardziej jednoznaczne, więc jakby z myślą o czytelniku staramy się jednak pisać pełne zdania. Używamy prostego języka, zarówno jeśli chodzi o słownictwo, jak i o struktury, które używamy. Tak, to nie jest jakby miejsce, żeby używać jakichś takich trudnych słów, czy jakichś literackich sformułowań. Staramy być jakby się do rzeczy. Jeśli chodzi o gramatykę, to warto na przykład po prostu używać cały czas present simple i gdzie tylko się da, chyba że nie potrzebujemy. I teraz chciałam wrócić tutaj troszkę do... Tu jest moja, zaraz, tylko czy ja tam się... Nie, to może zrobię tak, bo nie chcę. Wrócę troszkę do... Tu, tak. Na przykład jeśli popatrzymy na zdanie, docstringi dokumentują użycie kodu, a komentarze implementacji. Tak naprawdę, jak pewnie bym wam to mówiła, to bym powiedziała, docstringi powinny dokumentować użycie kodu, a nie implementacji, ponieważ już nie bywa, nie? Tak samo nie powtarzamy się niepotrzebnie. Staramy się nie powtarzać. Czasami się będziemy powtarzać i nic na to nie poradzimy. Natomiast jeśli sformułujemy to, co mówimy właśnie w taki prosty sposób, bez żadnych powinniśmy, staramy się, bez czasu przeszłego albo will, coś tam, show, to takie coś jest o wiele łatwiejsze jakby w odbiorze i takie bardziej do rzeczy. A ponieważ my docstringi czytamy naprawdę, skanujemy je, prawda, robiąc zupełnie coś innego, te nasze komunikaty faktycznie muszą być proste i do rzeczy. Tak, warto też używać spójnego słownictwa, to znaczy używać tego samego słowa na podobną rzecz albo na podobną akcję. Pewnie pamiętacie ze szkoły podstawowej języka polskiego, że trzeba było stosować różne warianty danego słowa, żeby to było miłe i fajnie się czytało. No to w stringach, a właściwie w dokumentacji nie. Jeśli mamy coś jakby wyciągnąć, to używamy get albo retrieve, prawda? I tak dalej. I mamy te swoje słowa i ciągle w gruncie rzeczy powtarzamy. Ale to daje takie coś, że nasze komunikaty są jednoznaczne i też łatwo, po prostu łatwo tą treść wyciągnąć, wiadomo o co chodzi. Niemniej jednak moim kolejnym punktem jest, nie zapominajcie o takim human touch, ponieważ docstring, który jest taki bardzo schematyczny, czy właściwie cała dokumentacja, jeśli jest bardzo schematyczna i taka bardzo patologiczna, to nasz umysł się na tym nie skoncentruje. Nasz umysł po prostu zrobi wszystko, tylko to, żeby tego nie czytać. Więc warto czasem dołożyć takie coś, złamać ten schematyzm tej naszej komunikacji przez docstringi, żeby jednak było w tym coś, co nasz mózg zainteresuje. No i takim ostatecznym jakby takim testem, jeśli byście mieli kiedyś jakieś, prawda, piszecie i się zastanawiacie, bo jak piszemy jesteśmy w jednym trybie, a później jakbyśmy czytali te docstringi, to będziemy w innym trybie, prawda? To naprawdę warto faktycznie w ramach jakichkolwiek wątpliwości wyjść z tych butów tego pisze kod i właśnie wejść na chwilę w buty kogoś, kto widzi nas, kto widzi to, no nie pamięta, jak to się używa, albo widzi tą funkcję po raz pierwszy i zastanowić się, czy daliśmy mu wszystkie informacje, które by chciał mieć. Ale też nie za dużo, żeby też nie, wiadomo, żeby jednak dostał to, co potrzebuje, ale żeby jego właśnie koncentracja jakby została, a nie gdzieś tam zaczęła odpływać. Stosunkowo łatwo jest właśnie napisać czy wygenerować jakiś docstring, który tak naprawdę wygląda dobrze, na pierwszy rzut oka wygląda dobrze i okej, i poprawnie, i ładnie. Natomiast tak naprawdę jak się zacznie go czytać, to tak trudno z niego coś wywnioskować. Trudno gdzieś to wszystko jest jakby trochę bezużyteczny, bo my go czytamy i w ogóle nic nie wiemy, co tam jest napisane. Albo nie rozumiemy tego, albo właśnie nasz umysł się w ogóle nie prześlizguje przez to i nie potrafi się na tym zatrzymać. Więc jakby starajmy się tutaj przynajmniej troszkę. Ja wiem, że zawsze docstringi się pisze właśnie przy okazji też właśnie czegoś innego, natomiast przynajmniej troszkę to na pewno ktoś nam za to przynajmniej dobrze pomyśli, może o nas, może się to uda. I teraz tak, jak sobie można pomóc w pisaniu docstringów? No przede wszystkim są lintery, które mogą nam pomóc jakby wyegzekwować pewne rzeczy. Tutaj pewnie by się znalazło ich wiele. Chyba takie najbardziej popularne to jest PyDocStyle i PyDocLint. PyDocStyle jest teraz właściwie wycofywany już na rzecz Rufa. I on zajmuje się bardziej właśnie pilnowaniem, czy zdanie ma kropkę na końcu, czy na przykład zdanie nie zaczyna się od w sensie ta linijka summary line nie zaczyna się od this i kilka takich różnych innych rzeczy. RUF posiada też pewien autofix, ale on sobie nie radzi ze wszystkimi błędami, nie da się ukryć. Część trzeba poprawić ręcznie. Tak. Natomiast PyDocLint jest dalej rozwijany i on bardziej śledzi takie na przykład brakujące argumenty albo że nie ma sekcji return czy tam yield przy generatorach, więc jakby w tym może nam pomóc. Ale też niektóre z tych jego reguł są już w RUF-ie, więc może to się będzie zmieniać, może on też jakby zastąpi, znaczy RUF może zastąpić go też w pewnym momencie. Obie te rzeczy można podłączyć do precommita, także je można, że tak powiem, egzekwować, Natomiast powiem tak, że ja właśnie włączałam Rufa na jednym z projektów i no musiałam chyba 2000 błędów poprawić ręcznie, ale się zaparłam i to zrobiłam, no i już później było fajnie. Natomiast nie zawsze idzie to tak znowu płynnie. I też jeśli byście się zdecydowali na któreś z tych linterów, to zachęcam, żebyście rozważyli wyłączenie niektórych reguł. Ponieważ jeśli zastosujecie wszystkie te reguły, to będą tak rygorystyczne, właśnie, że na przykład wszystko musi mieć, każda funkcja musi mieć swój docstring, czy coś w tym stylu, a my tego jakby właśnie przed chwilą powiedziałam, że jeśli nie potrzebujemy na przykład generować tej dokumentacji, wiadomo, że na stronie wszystko musi mieć swój opis, to nie musimy tego robić, więc nie utrudniajmy sobie życia samemu i jeśli jakaś reguła faktycznie, że tak powiem, wadzi nam, to może ją sobie lepiej wyłączmy. I teraz jeszcze 2 drobiazgi. Tu akurat z PyCharma, ale no nie wiem, może się komuś przyda. Jak najedziecie albo klikniecie na jakąś nazwę i zrobicie Ctrl-Q, to wtedy pojawi się taki tooltip właśnie, który pokazuje no tutaj i sygnaturę funkcji i właśnie docstringa. Jak 2 razy naciśniecie Ctrl-Q, to się pojawi w nowym oknie. I też w ustawieniach PyCharma jest coś takiego jak docstring format. To się idzie przez Python Tools, Integrated Tools. W innych wersjach może to trochę inaczej wyglądać. I tutaj właśnie w tym docstring format możecie sobie wybrać, który właśnie format żeście wybrali i on wtedy przy jakiejś autouzupełnianiu czy czymś, no to powinien w jakiś sposób to respektować. Tak. No i właściwie to tyle. Poszło mi szybciej niż myślałam, więc jeśli macie jakieś pytania, to jestem otwarta. No, szybko.
Hands up for questions.
Mam takie pytanie, bo jak pokazywałaś ten docstring w restructure tekście, to tam też były type hinty w docstringu. A mam pytanie, co o tym sądzisz, bo wydaje mi się, że jak są type hinty po prostu w sygnaturze funkcji, to w docstringach nie ma sensu. Czy...
Zaraz, gdzie ja to jestem? Zaraz tylko wrzucę. A, tutaj do góry muszę iść. Tak, absolutnie się z tobą zgadzam. Jeśli są type hinty, to jest niepotrzebne. No chyba, że w jakiś sposób to narzędzie na przykład do generowania dokumentacji tego nie uwzględnia, ale raczej uwzględni, więc nie powtarzajmy się.
Ja może tylko dodam taką trochę własną opinię, że w sumie jak mamy też jakieś docstringi na przykład do całego modułu, który, nie wiem, jest implementacją czegoś pod jakąś konkretną wersję, ewentualnie do metody czy funkcji, to warto jest tą wersję, pod którą to działa, też udokumentować najlepiej linkiem do źródeł czy coś takiego. W sensie ja osobiście mam dużo takich problemów, że ktoś implementuje coś, co działa pod jakąś wersję i nie wiadomo później z kodu, pod jaką wersję to działa i dlaczego ktoś zrobił takie decyzje, a nie inne i jak wrzuci linka, nie wiem, do źródeł tam jakby zależnych, to się przydaje.
Jasne, jak tak samo jakakolwiek na przykład może dokumentacja zewnętrzna jest adekwatna, to można wrzucać linki, nie? I to jest jakaś pomoc zawsze.
Any other questions? Okay, so big round of applause once again.
Czy to był hot topic?
It was a hot topic. Luckily, we have, I'm still in English mode, yeah, but I will stick to the English because we will have lightning talks. Luckily, we have conditioning here, conditioners. All right. So now we'll go to lightning talks. So once again, who's got a lightning talk? You want to be first? Okay, go hop onto the stage as the first one. You have only 1 minute because I know what you have. So it's like 1 minute, right? 2 minutes. Good. Then what's next? I know Francesco is. What? maybe during pizza. Pizza is coming soon, I hope. So next will be Francesco, maybe. I have to grab my computer. Then Nika. And Szymon. And I don't know, maybe then me, or maybe they disconnected. Bartek, you know the drill. Go on. I have to grab my computer for the next one.
No, it should be on. Ah, hello. So this is more than Janusz thinks it is, because he didn't see the third slide. But this is a meta lightning talk. Basically, do lightning talks. If you ever ask yourself the question whether you should do a lightning talk, this is a simple diagram to help you. So generally, you get the idea. But there's more to this. I did my first lightning talk in 2022, and that's a photo of it. Because remember, everything is recorded; nothing is getting lost. If you screwed something up, it's on YouTube forever. But no pressure. Do lightning talks, please. Do lightning talks. My point is, I did this, and I was. It doesn't matter what was the subject, but I did this, and I was really ashamed because I had notes and I forgot to look at them, and I got really confused, and all of it took like 70 seconds, but it took 70 years in my mind, and I was super stressed, and I hated it, and I went down the stage, I don't know, almost crying probably. And for 3 years, I've remembered this as like one of the worst moments in my life, right? I come up, because it was also my first Pykonik, I come up to this seemingly wonderful community, now not seemingly, just wonderful, and I kind of screwed it up, right? And it was kind of haunting me. Like I refused to watch that video, as in just like this sucked so hard. And then we were at Pykonik, which is a beer meetup Pykonik sometimes holds, and the rest of the organizers told me that like, dude, you were fine. Like, I have no idea what it was, because no one remembers it, because it wasn't anything special in a very good way, as in you didn't, if you screwed up so immensely, we would remember it, right? And that day I was like, no, this is like a forming experience for me. This sucked. And then I opened the video and it's fine. Like I couldn't even tell. I could tell I was nervous, but I wouldn't tell that I'm like making a mistake or anything like that. So yeah, do lightning talks, because even if you feel embarrassed, probably nobody cares. As I was talking with Szymon like just 30 seconds ago, this is like a spot on your t-shirt. Like no one will remember a spot on your t-shirt like an hour from now, let alone 3 years. But I had that so hard pinned in my mind. 5885, yes. So that was beautiful. That was on Tech Talks 58, and tonight we have 85. So perfect. And as last part, I accidentally said that this is not a graph. I didn't call this a diagram. I called it wykres. I remember what wykres is in English. Chart. Yes, I called it a chart earlier, and they corrected me that this is a diagram, so I'm also including a chart. If you haven't seen this, then you haven't seen the internet yet. Yeah. I'm going to let you look at it for a bit, because it gets better the more you look at it. Zielona Góra is yellow. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Now, Francesca. So basically, if you want to do a lightning talk, you have to reach out to me, catch me running around. Yeah, put it there. So I will leave the microphone to you. Yeah.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Francesco. I am that guy there. and just dressed differently. I think I was not planning this lightning talk, but why not? So I came here today because I am getting into Python. I'm not a Pythoner yet, but yeah, if I am, I have been a Pythoner just for a week or two, so I'm definitely not an expert. What's my story? I've always worked on structured data, SQL, if you will, so very simple thing, making queries against the database. And as a consultant, I've always had a very easy life because it's super easy, but yeah, companies screw it a lot. They screw it up completely. So my job as a consultant has always been very easy because I was doing zero effort and being paid very well. So my model of work has always been work 6 months and stay on holiday for 2 or 3 years, and then work 6 months again and stay on holiday for 2 or 3 years, and so on. At the moment, I've been on holiday since 2019 because I had a bit of savings more than usual. So that's perfect life. What do you need more? So the trick is that I said, why not do something smarter, something even that helps more the people, the world, whatever. So I had an idea to clone myself as an MCP server. So basically, I would like to, because it's so easy for me to do this job of doing business intelligence, data analytics for companies, why not create, especially now when AI exists, why not create an MCP server of myself and cancel also those 6 months of work that I'm doing every 2 or 3 years. So, but here's the serious part. What I'm looking, why am I here talking to you? Because I'm looking for someone that can help me. Because I don't know how to build an MCP server. It's a new thing. It was introduced by Anthropic last year. But having chats with my friends and talking about what my product should do, I realized that it needs AI. Let's say that AI helps a lot, and they told me the thing that you want to do looks very much like an MCP server. So the idea is that I would like to build a product that is being sold to companies like large banks. I worked for HSBC in London, Deutsche Bank, all these clients, and make a program that could be done in Python, absolutely, and that is basically emulating me at work. So it has to do with doing chat to SQL or chat to database, the thing that companies like Google and Microsoft are trying to build now, and they are really, really not being successful. So you see me here on shorts on a stage and you say, what are the odds that this guy can do better than Google or Microsoft? Probably not, but I have some sort of a secret recipe that I wrote a book in 2020 that gives a method to solve some problems that existed before AI existed. But now people, when they train AI with methods that reflect the way things have always been done before AI. So basically, they are repeating the same errors, but same errors as before, but they are repeating them faster with AI. So with this method that I invented, patented, and wrote a book, and I applied for my clients, I want to implement that book inside a program and make life easier when making data analytics. So that's pretty much it. I don't know, maybe if someone is curious, because I'm very vague now, I have 1 minute left. So in having an idea, if you have questions on how this, what does it require, what skill or something like that, is anyone sort of intrigued by this? How would you do a thing that makes queries automatically, which is a job that companies like Accenture or Deloitte are doing for banks and for all large corporates forever, and just do a machine that is doing it automatically? Do you know that the power is under your fingers? You're Pythoners. I've been a Pythoner for 2 weeks. So can anyone imagine how this works or what, or ask?
I would say the best idea is to grab people afterwards.
Yeah.
During the pizza time.
Yeah, sounds very good.
Which will come soon.
Yeah. So I guess that's it. If you want to be part of this, I'm looking for people who want to start a journey. Also, if you're friends or something who want to play a game where we build a product that looks amazing, I'm here. I live in Cracow, and I am available. So that's all. See you later. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, Nika is next. Not this one, this one. I'm switching wires. Yes, because apparently I used the wrong one. Or rather, unexpected one. There you go. Przejściówki nie chcesz tam, nie musisz? Nie. Okej. Tam będziesz miała podgląd. Klonowanko. Nie wiem, czy to było klonowanie realne. A może było? Nie wiem. Chyba nie. Ale będziesz widziała? Comes the magic.
Okej. Moja historia zaczyna się tak, że trochę ponad tydzień temu... Mogę po polsku, tak? Tak już wyszło, że zaczęłam po polsku. I mogę po angielsku jeszcze coś. Okay. A little bit more than 1 week ago, I was on a conference, DevConf. So I'm not sure if it's strictly open source, but it's by Red Hat, so open source everywhere. And on one stand, I found something like this. So it's a Bluetooth tracker. And I thought, oh, it's a good idea because I was thinking about some AirTag some time ago. And I hoped that it's open source and all this stuff. But it wasn't open source. So I came home. I've seen that it's CLUG, Bluetooth tracker. It has a closed source application, which requires registration, which has some trackers like Facebook tracker, Google tracker, location, and all this stuff. So no, I don't want this. And I thought that maybe I can write myself something to communicate with this tracker. So started, of course, with some code, asking what can I do. So I used BLE radar to find the tracker, to find this MAC address. Then I tried to so I found services could get the info by standard signals, but I couldn't send ring. So the next step was reverse engineering the application. So I got there is extractor of application, so of APK file. So it was step with reverse engineering the application, and that's the result. So by reverse engineering with open code and help, I could communicate with this Bluetooth tracker. It looks like this, and this is a library which I made by this weekend. It's look like this. It's on GitHub, and I can make a small demo of this application. It can take some time. So application the tracker is advertising, so I can send something. This is monitoring. And this, it takes some time. Okay, it found it. So if I press the button, it can read that I pressed the button. So in future application, I can make button press detection and make my phone ring, for example. I can get info of this Bluetooth tracker. It's and I can make it ring. I don't know if it will be hearable by someone else. And that's all. So basic communication is working. Next step will be maybe creating an application. Or I forget about this, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you for the lightning talk, and the next person is me.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Yeah, surprise was that Szymon introduces himself. Next is Szymon. I just did this because after him will be mine. And I will introduce myself, why not? So, Disco, you also have something. Anyone else? It's growing. Nice. All right. You know, we are doing lightning talks until pizza comes. And even when pizza is here, we can do lightning talks. This is totally fine. Lightning talks are... Who likes lightning talks? No. Okay. Everyone loves them. Okay, Szymon.
Yeah, we can start.
Go on.
Niebiesko ci.
It's blue, da-ba-dee-da-ba-die. You don't see it, but the screen is blue. It's a blue screen.
And I don't have Windows.
And you don't have Windows. Mm-hmm. I think that's on.
Good. Okay, so a few Pykonics ago, I gave a lightning talk about feedback loops and that I want everything to happen fast because I want to get a feedback as soon as possible. And because of that, I switched recently from windsurf to Z. Who heard about Z IDE and who uses Z? Less people. Okay, so I will try to convince you that it's a good IDE. It was basically it doesn't lack any feature that I had in PyCharm or windsurf, so that's a plus. It's fast. That's why I switched to it in the first place. It was created by developers of Atom, Electron, and Three-Seater. Basically, the history is that after Atom was deprecated and gone, they decided that Electron is not giving enough freedom regarding the window management, so they created their own IDE based on the Rust, rewriting the whole rendering layer. So the main feature is that it's fast and it's in Rust, not Python, but it can run Python. It's very lightweight editor, so everything needs to be managed through extensions and settings, but it's much more convenient than settings in VS Code, at least for me. It has some native AI features and integrations, so you can connect basically any provider that you can imagine as an AI provider. So, for example, you can use OpenCode or Codex as a provider, not natively, but the built-in features of Z with any provider that you have. For example, I have a Copilot connected as an auto-suggestion provider. The panel on the left is something you can know from, I think, CLUG Cowork or Codex app. Basically, you can manage your agentic sessions across multiple projects and multiple work trees, Git work trees. So to show you how fast it is, each section is separate project with separate folder on a hard drive, and switching between them is fast like that. And I have only one window, so everything happens in this one window. So it's very easily to manage multiple agent sessions across multiple projects. That's one thing. Second thing regarding the agents is that you can have separate terminal on the right, which is agent terminal. So it's treated as a thread that you have on the left. So if I open a new one, it adds here as a separate thread, and I can run CLUG, Codex, or OpenCode here. Doesn't matter. And it somehow hooks into the agent harness, so it can also display you notifications, native system notifications, as agents are done. And I can have, of course, the separate terminal that doesn't count as an agent terminal, so just to run separate commands. Second thing, I mentioned also some time ago, and we had a first talk about it, OpenCode. I use OpenCode with the free model, which is the most polished model I saw, called Big Pickle. And I like it because it's fast. It's just, returns you answers to your questions. So for example, if I ask how many files I have in this folder, it doesn't think as long as Codex and CLUG. It just runs commands. And to give you an overview how fast it is, recently in my home lab, I bought a Wi-Fi card, and it didn't work. So I gave it command to debug it, and it's not live, but you can imagine, like, it was thinking about 1 second, then 2 seconds, then 3 seconds. 4 seconds. And in about 30 seconds, I had an answer and the full debug workflow, which was just downgrading the kernel. And I wouldn't guess it even with Stack Overflow. And third thing I wanted to quickly show you is work trees. Who uses Git work trees these days? Cool. So it will be even better in Z. And for me, it was painful that I had some files that were not Git committed, or I had some Git ignored files. And every time I had to create a new work tree, I was lacking those files. And apparently, there is a post-checkout hook in Git, which allows you to detect when the new work tree is created. So you can set up some commands that needs to be run after you create a new work tree, or commands, or just to link some files. This is just custom bash script. So every time now, when I create a work tree, it just runs uvsync and also symlinks some files from my main directory fetched by git command. So for example, I don't have to copy .env file every time I create a new work tree. It just happens automatically. Even if you create, for example, here, new work tree based on the current branch, it loads a bit because uvsync runs under the hood. And I have a totally new work tree with those files symlinked from my main directory. So that's basically it because I'm over time. If you have any questions, yeah, catch me during the pizza.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, you go first. Yeah, come on to the stage. Pizza is almost there. They need to set it up. So we go with this talk. Then we have one more that we have also disconnected. No. Come on, guys. Okay, do you want more lightning talks? All right. Do you want pizza? Raise your hand if you want lightning talks before pizza. Ah, okay. Raise your hands if you want it during pizza. Okay, we can do both, I guess. So we will do this lightning talk. Do you have a mic? I will help you. You are connected, I see. Will this work for you? Okay. There you have minutes, 5 minutes. Just give me a second before we start. So after this lightning talk, we'll do just a 3 minutes break so we can grab pizza. Disconnected will connect. I'm still good in this. And then we'll go with the round of few more lightning talks and the closing, and then we'll follow up with the pizza and drinking and talking and everything after party related. Okay, let's go with the lightning talk. Sarah, there you go.
Hello? Okay, it's on. So this is not going to be really a technical kind of talk. It's just a little bit of a backstory of how I got into Python and about that story. So I've actually been programming for about a year, just over a year, so not that long. And I started after a super busy shift at the restaurant I worked at. I was a server, so on the Mother's Day shift, that was kind of hell. It was really busy, and when I got home, I was exhausted physically, but mentally, my brain was still going. So I needed something to do, and I somehow ended up on programming, and somehow that became Python. So I actually stayed up until 4 a.m. that night. I first started by using PyDroid and messing around there a little bit. You can't do that much there, but you can do some when you're first starting out. And then I found W3 Schools and also SoloLearn, which SoloLearn has its issues as well because, well, it's not necessarily well maintained on some things, but it's good to get you started. And yeah, I stayed up until 4 a.m. and since then I've been programming almost every single day, trying to learn new things and stuff like that. My situation also, my life situation was pretty bad at the time, and Python was actually the thing to get me out of my situation because it was something that was worth fighting for. And so when I left my situation, true story, I left the US literally from one moment to the next. I had to escape, and the only thing I took with me of any value was my computer because I wasn't willing to give up on programming. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. Pavel promised it will be just 1 minute, and he won't run away from after party. So I will give you a mic for 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Pavel, and it's my first time attending this event. And first of all, I would like to say I really love the atmosphere here. I really love the vibe and the concept of quick tech talks. My speech will be different because I do not find myself as experienced as most of you. Quick story, I'm applied computer science student on the second year during my bachelor, and currently I'm just finding an internship to just gain an experience in a backend field. Mostly I'm a Java developer, so you can consider me a spy here. But my quick question is like, I would love to hear your stories. How did you get into IT? How your stories has begun? So whenever you feel like you want to have a quick chat with me, or even much longer chat, I'm open to hear your stories and hit me up next to the pizza. Thank you.
Speaking of, I think it's time to grab some pizza and come back here for more lightning talks. Thank you for great, kind words, Pavel. Yeah, this is what we are. Pykonik is a community-based event. This is the advertisement during your pizza, because we like doing advertisements all the time. Remember to buy our products, which we have none. And yeah, that's it. 3 minutes.
Test.
Or you can go to pykonik.org/feedback to fill in the form with feedback, because you see we are even changing the schedule during the event for you. All right. And now, disconnected. Go on.
Hello, I'm disconnected. I'm going to talk about 3 different topics. So first things, who knows what is TLS? Raise your hand. Okay, a bunch of people. That's transport layer security. And this is a picture generated by ChatGPT. So basically, this is the protocol that protects your connection when you connect to websites. This is the thing beyond HTTPS that makes it secure, kind of. So your web browser is saying hello to the server, and the server responds with some kind of certificate, and then there's some kind of Diffie-Hellman exchange of things, and some kind of shared secret, or actually a key, shared key is established for encrypting data between your web browser and the server itself. And by the way, before that, when the server tells you, hey, this is my certificate, your web browser is checking whether this certificate is signed by one of the root certificate authorities things that is embedded into your web browser or your system, so that your system has some kind of trust store, basically some kind of list of entities that it trusts. And thanks to all of that, whenever you are sending data to your websites or getting back some data out of websites, it's all encrypted, and so nobody can see what's the data in between. And if you didn't have all of that, so in the 30 years ago, there was no HTTPS, there was just HTTP protocol. So when you connected to websites and you exchange some data, you log in with your username and password, this data was sent unencrypted in plain text. So basically, any computer, any server or machine in between you and the server that you connected to could see this data, and basically could hack you. And you could also hack on your neighbors in your local network and so on. That's old ages so that's pretty good. And by the way, if you connect to an untrusted Wi-Fi, you can freely use HTTPS as long as your web browser doesn't say that the connection is potentially unsafe, because if you connect to a website that will tell you its own certificate, and the certificate will tell, hey, I am google.com, but this certificate is not signed by a trusted authority, then you probably should not log into your Gmail or whatever. But there are microservices, right? Who knows about microservices? Okay, a bunch of you know. So, we split our infrastructure, architecture, or our applications into microservices. So we have some kind of small blocks, you have some domain service, composition service, some service without a name that's taken from some Microsoft docs, by the way. So you split your app into microservices, and first of all, you connect to some API gateway as the user, and then the connection is forwarded wherever it needs to be forwarded. But other than that, some of the services can connect to other services. And ideally, it would be great if there is some encryption in between those as well, because those services can also exist on different machines, on different infrastructure, on different cloud networks, and so on. So ideally, there would be TLS here as well. But the problem with TLS is that, it's not a problem with TLS, but usually TLS is that you are basically ensuring the confidentiality and integrity of the connection of the server, and you're checking if the server is the one that it should be, based on your trust store, or on who you trust, right? But the server doesn't know who you are. The server doesn't authenticate you. You are authenticating the server, but the server doesn't authenticate you. And there's a thing called MTLS, which the M stands for mutual TLS, so that now the server can also authenticate the client. And so there's MTLS that you should use in microservices architecture. So whenever you have some kind of different applications running in your infrastructure, ideally they should connect through mutual TLS. So they should check each other who is connecting, who is on the other end, basically. If you don't have this, then someone hacking one of your services may be able somehow to hack the other one or connect to the other one and execute something. But what I wanted to say also is that there is a thing called noise protocol, and this is also a picture generated by ChatGPT, which is like so bloated, actually. But one of the clients or users of noise protocol is WhatsApp, the WhatsApp app that you have on your mobile, and the noise protocol is basically ensuring, well, basically also giving you the same thing as TLS, but without all the hassle that TLS has. For example, there is no things like certificate authorities in noise protocol, and no certificates, which is, a lot of bloat, a lot of things that need to be sent over the wire. So there is data that, like, the certificates need to be sent, and they wait some bytes, right? So whenever your WhatsApp client connects to the WhatsApp server, there is no certificate being exchanged. The certificate is, or some kind of key is basically embedded into your WhatsApp client. So, this protocol is kind of like TLS, but without a lot of TLS bloat that you don't really need when you control both the client and the server. So this is the TLDR. And by the way, this says on the bottom that, this is like a secure tunnel client between the client and server, and this is not end-to-end encryption. Well, the connection between the client and the servers is encrypted, but by end-to-end encryption, the E2EE, we mean that, like, whenever I send data to someone on WhatsApp, this is not the protocol that encrypts the data, the messages that I'm sending to someone. So this is not the protocol that makes it that WhatsApp servers cannot see my messages. There is Signal protocol that is using, by the way, under the hood for that. So noise is just for the client to the server connection. And obviously there's a website for it. There's Noise Protocol Framework where you can read more about it if you want to. Also, when it was developed, the TLS 1.3 didn't exist back then. There was 1.1.2 or 1.1. So not all the features of the TLS were there, and actually Noise Protocol is just smaller. So less data needs to be exchanged in order to establish a secure connection. Yeah, so that was one of my lightning talks. The other one, what I want to talk about, is Bluetooth during flight. So they tell you when you are flying, they tell you to enable the flight mode in your smartphones and your devices. And there was this interesting topic on Reddit, on United Airlines Reddit, 26 days ago, that basically the person that wrote this was on a flight, and the flight attendants told them through the intercom that you have to turn Bluetooth off or we are turning around, basically coming back to the airport when we started, because they just took off from the ground or something. And they repeated the instruction multiple times, eventually giving a final 1-minute warning. Any idea what could be the reason? The pilot? The mobile of the pilot? Well, no, I mean, that would be funny. But they most recently said there are still two active Bluetooth devices, and they are in communication with Chicago to understand next steps. So that's a bit funny story. And there is an edit of the message later on that Wi-Fi is back, and we have turned around. So, the flight attendant told everyone to turn Bluetooth off, but somebody didn't turn it off. So they turned around, and everyone ended up at the same airport where they started. And the flight attendant didn't know what to say, basically, as well. And they told them that, like, this was related to something with Bluetooth that is threatening to the safety of the flight. Can you imagine what could be this now?
Someone in the back said device name.
Oh yeah, someone in the back said the device name. Yes, I didn't hear that, but that was repeated. Yeah, that's true. So there is another comments about this, and then there's some kind of ramp controller which you can actually probably listen to remotely as well. Said that another pilot's question that a passenger on the flight had a Bluetooth speaker with its name set to a 4-letter word, which was probably a bomb. I mean, so maybe don't set your Bluetooth speaker name to a bomb because, or your Wi-Fi name to a bomb, because this can happen to you as well. Yeah, and another thing I wanted to talk about is car nausea when using smartphone? Anyone has this problem? Raise your hand. Okay, some people have. So apparently, I don't know if that works for Android, but there is an article about Apple's iOS that there is some anti-nausea dots that can cure your car sickness. So this doesn't work, so I'll show it here. So basically, there is some mode that you can enable in iOS. I don't know if that works for Android, which uses the accelerometer of your device, and like there are some dots that appear on your screen, and the dots are turning around whenever the accelerometer feels that there is a turn or something, like you can see here. And supposedly that helps with car nausea. I have no idea because I don't have this problem, but if you have this problem, maybe you want to use that. And probably there is some solution for Android as well.
I saw this article, I found it, I enabled it. I haven't tested it because I have not been driving since then, but it's mostly annoying me because it randomly turns on when I'm like...
Oh yeah, okay. So just to repeat, someone from the audience turned it on but didn't test it yet. But it's annoying because it pops up, the dots appears randomly sometimes, right? Yeah. Anyway. It's not meant for the driver. Yeah, definitely not for the driver, of course. Yeah, so that was basically it, that one I wanted to show you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Vlad. You may remember him. He was having a fully fledged talk last month, if I'm correct. Any new lightning talks coming? Just asking for a friend. Just checking. How's pizza? Do you like pizza? Oh, okay. We need some tissues. So I take it as a yes. Okay. So Vlad, then I'll be doing some of mine and we'll be closing.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yes. Cool. So I wanted to quickly show you a few weird behaviors I have discovered recently related to how annotated works and how various type checkers treat them. So given some very trivial example of annotated usage. So here we have like annotated class and some function which declares to accept a variable of certain type, and we invoke it with 1. So, I mean, type checkers would probably just infer that, that the type of the variable is integer in this case, and no type errors would be raised. But let's check if, so for example, if we change this snippet to be something like that. So if we have like a function which doesn't only accept a value of a certain type, but also a type of the type. So basically a type object. And we call it with this one. Would you tell that a type checker would trace an error in here or not. Can you raise your hand if you think that there will be an error, actually? Okay, so if we just run that, there will be no error. But if we run something like that, MyPy would say, oh, 1 second. Oh, sorry, yeah. So MyPy would say that argument 1 to function has incompatible type, which is type special form. And I mean, we just pass annotated int into this function, and it apparently doesn't treat it as a type. So if you actually dig a bit deeper into how annotated work, in fact, Python doesn't treat annotated as a type. It treats it as a special form in typing system. So it's like something that has a meaning in Python's type system, but isn't necessarily a type. And for example, if here we can see that type of annotated is type cache special form. I mean, some private object on a typing system. But if we, for example, also check type of an annotated, it would also return something that is annotated alias. And in fact, if we even go further and check yeah. So it isn't even an instance of a type itself. So in fact, that's quite weird, or at least not quite expected for me. Because in here, you can see that when we just ran here on my Py on that main1.py file, it has reported an error on line 8, but hasn't reported any error on line 7, which is basically the same value but assigned to a variable in some code block above. So how do we actually deal with it? Because apparently, if we run this code, it would be okay. And if we use just annotated int to annotate some variables to any other function, like type checker would just treat it normally as any integer type. So Python 3.15 introduces something called typeform, which is like a higher value object in typing system, which is actually a super set of types, and it doesn't only accept like any valid type object, but it also accepts any special forms or constructs which involve other types. And if we run this function in here, it will also fail, because to actually enable this feature, for MyPy at least, we need to set this flag in the config file, and after that it will just pass. And you can see in here that it accepts both like inline declaration of annotated object or a variable which points to it, or basically even a union of this type with any other type. And that would be it when it comes to annotated. And if you'd like to learn even more about different approaches we can use annotated in our code base, I would definitely advise you to check out EuroPython, and I will be speaking there to show you a bit more about how we can leverage this typing class. Thank you.
Thank you. Poker.
So a 30-second response to disco, or maybe not a response, but like adding some more context. A lot of the situation, a lot of it is just he said, she said, I was a passenger on that flight or whatever. And a thing that I think is kind of dumb is that a lot of people assume if it's a 16-year-old that he did it deliberately. But some people say it's a fitness device. Some people say it's a remote speaker, and some remote speakers have Bomb as their default Bluetooth name. Like someone on Reddit found that there is a model of a Bluetooth speaker that has it as default, and ask yourself if you normally change the names of your Bluetooth devices. So like because a lot of people just rush to judgment that like, oh, it was a prank and it returned the flight, where like no one confirmed that it was a prank. Like people just said that there was this name. So I just wanted to add that this is a possibility. So just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I move on, yeah, clap. This is also a very small lightning talk. Before I move on to mine, I have to prepare something. So give me a second. Batman. All right, we can go. So a bunch of little things from me. So first of all, we had a talk about the... Don't. We had a talk about the docstrings. One thing I used once was... Inspect. Inspect has this function called getDoc that pulls the docstrings. It can be useful sometimes. In my specific case, it was because I was building a tool that was supposed to be used by community customers and so on, and they were supposed to create their own small applications where from the source code the manifest files were to be created, and also they had to be also somewhat documented. So this documentation was also based in the docstrings. So this was one of the standards there. Anyway, Inspect has plenty of things where you can pull in more info. If you don't know Inspect yet, you can look into it. It's in the standard Python library. It has lots of functions for picking stuff about the code that is being run. So basically, you can pull even the types of the data and also manipulate on it. Basically, it's quite widely used, I would say, by other libraries. I wouldn't be surprised if if it wouldn't be used by documentation software. Anyway, this was a little bit about like to reference the talk. Now a bit of community advertisements. So, as part of EuroPython, we'll have Django Girls workshops, which are workshops of learning how to use Django for women. So it will be on Saturday on 18th of July. If you know some girls, some women who want to get into this world, or maybe just try it out and they want to learn about this, you can send them this website, which is djangogirls.org/Cracow2. So there's a number there. But anyway, the registration is still open, so share it with your friends. And if you would like to help also, you can become a coach. So you can go here to this section, be a coach, and there's a form to fill in, and you can also help during this workshop in learning how to use Django. This is part of the initiative that is traveling around with EuroPython, which is coming in July. This is just a reminder because, you know, it's in Cracow. And as you can see, some of you should recognize this character in the image. So one important note is that if you plan to buy a ticket for EuroPython, you should do so until tomorrow, because then the price of the tickets goes up because we are getting into the stage of late birds. So this is the last moment to grab tickets at the regular price. And another thing is a conference that I am organizing. It will happen here in ECHO Miasta. Thanks to ECHO Miasta, we have this space also. And DevOps Days Cracow is coming back because last year we only had a little meetup. We had a series of conferences since 2020 till 2024. Now we are coming back with our community. If you are interested in agile development and running services in production and how to connect these two worlds together, actually, I usually tend to say that people in Python community usually understand it fully and don't understand why DevOps is such a huge thing, because they do this on a daily basis. But you can you can learn, or maybe you can teach other people by attending this event. We already have a program. It will be on 4th of July, so next Saturday. Half of the conference consists of the talks, and the other half are something called experience exchange sessions, also known as the open spaces, which are basically, I would say, sitting in circles and talking to each other, but you are building the agenda. So basically, the topics depend on the audience, not someone wise who's picking some speakers. Come on. So if you want to attend, you can go to this website, devopsdays.org/Cracow, or just devopsdays.org. You have Cracow here. And you can register. And why you can register right now is because the tickets are insanely cheap, because they are just 60 zł. Thanks to ECHO Miasta, we were able to keep it at low price, and also thanks to our sponsors, we are covering most of the stuff. So basically, you can come. This is just a one-day conference on Saturday, so come join us in here for the whole day of nice experience exchanges and also talks and lightning talks as well. So if you have some lightning talks, you can also go there and show them. That's it. Nah, here. Okay. Time for closing, because I see lots of you want to talk at the back. And this is awesome, actually, because this is one of the core points of our event. Share your feedback if you haven't done so yet. Now, quick round of single claps for our sponsors. So, for ECHO Miasta. Almost in sync. For EuroPython Society for their pizza. Nice. Programista. Paged Out. CLUG. Double times for CLUG. JetBrains. Okay, and now the competition. I have to check the Discord. That's nice, yes. Just let me check the channel. What happened in the channel? So actually, Sarah, you got the most likes. Do you want the license code? Yay! Big round of applause for the winner. Now, if you're not there yet, and somehow you missed the competition, you can join us on discord.pykonik.org. This is the best source of information of the things that we are doing, the events that are happening, because these are not just Pykonik Tech Talks with pizza, but also what we are doing Pykonik meetings, which are like meetings with beer. We are just sitting down together and just discuss stuff. And we are doing this also usually once a month. Maybe it will be a little bit more during the summer. So join us on Discord. Watch out for the information, because Pykonik Tech Talks are not coming back at the end of July and at the end of August. September we'll see. But nonetheless, if you have some idea for the talk for Pykonik Tech Talks, which may take place somewhere near autumn, go to our website, pykonik.org, and there's a button there to send us the presentation proposal. So do that, because we are constantly looking for the speakers. That was the Pykonik Tech Talks 85. My name is Ivelios. That's how you can find me on Discord, and it's been a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you. And now the after party. You can grab more pizza and more beer, more drinks, and have fun. See you around.